There's a lot of different times during the year where you can plant grass and be very, very successful with it. And one of those is in the springtime. My personal favorite time to plant grass is in the fall, usually from about the latter part of July through about mid-September, because the soil is warm and it germinates and it comes up really, really fast. But pretty much any time our soil temperatures really start to warm up in say April, when the leaves start popping out on the trees, that's a great time to start planting grass. All the way through October would be excellent time. But what's interesting is how different a lot of the varieties of grass are and how they work. And if you've got a lawn that's probably 15 or even maybe 20 years old, and say you built your home 20 years ago, believe it or not, your grass is outdated. A lot of the newer varieties of grass have been improved so much that they don't need nearly as much water, they don't need nearly as much fertilizer to stay green, they resist insects, they resist diseases, and there's a lot of great qualities that have been built into a lot of these grasses. And what a lot of people don't realize is there's some very, very nice inexpensive grass varieties you can plant from seed that look just like bluegrass. So I've got some samples right here. Now this is our Anderson's Select, which is a blend of 5 hybrid bluegrasses, and it's just really getting growing. So the blades are a little bit smaller than what it would be out in the lawn. We've been growing it in the greenhouse, so the blades are a little bit finer, but as the grass matures and we really start to cut it, it will start to get thicker. And Kentucky bluegrass blade is probably, you know, 1/8 of an inch wide. It's not really a very wide grass, but it's really, really soft. And when you walk on it and you walk on it barefoot, it's like really soft and nice. It's not pokey, and it's just a beautiful dark green grass. Here in the middle, this middle sample is our Magic Carpet mix, which is a blend of 4 hybrid bluegrasses. And the difference between our Anderson's mix and the Magic Carpet is Magic Carpet's a little bit less expensive, but we hand pick the varieties in our Anderson's mix, and the company that we buy the grass from picks the varieties in the Magic Carpet. So ours are a little bit more adapted to Cache Valley and our conditions, and we put an extra variety in there to give it a little bit more variability. I mean, some will do better in sun, some will do better in shade, some have more drought tolerance, some have more insects and disease resistance, and so we'll put a combination of 5 really high quality grasses together in our mix that will be very adapted to our area here in Cache Valley. But as you can see, the blades are very soft. It's got a really pretty green texture, and it's just an amazing grass. This is one of the newer varieties of grass that a lot of people don't think about, and this is a perennial rye mix. So this mix is called Everest 3000, and this is the blend that we have here at Anderson's. The great thing about the new varieties of perennial rye, as you can see, the blades of grass are approximately the same size as the Kentucky bluegrass. So perennial ryegrass has kind of gotten a bad rap over the years because a lot of people think that it's a thicker, coarser, tougher blade, and it's not. It's very, very similar. It resembles the Kentucky bluegrass very, very much, but as you can see, it's actually a little darker green. And so these have been grown all under the same conditions, but the perennial ryegrass is actually just a little bit darker green, and it doesn't need as much water as the Kentucky bluegrass. It is very, very disease resistant. There's very few diseases that bother it, and insects don't like to eat it. And so if you're having problems with diseases getting into your lawn, or if you're having problems with insect damage year after year after year, the best way to alleviate that is not to constantly put an insecticide on every year or constantly put a fungicide on every year, but to actually change up the variety of grass that you've got, and you can discourage insects and diseases from attacking your lawn in the first place just by switching to a different grass. And I would highly recommend this perennial ryegrass because of its beautiful color, its appearance. It's very soft. It's got a soft texture to it, just like bluegrass. This is the variety of grass that they use in professional ball fields where they mow it so it looks like a checkerboard, or they'll mow it so it has stripes in it, because the perennial ryegrass actually has a slightly different color on both sides of the blade. So on one side it's got a different color than on the other side, and if you mow this way it kind of lays that way, way, and if you mow this way, it lays that way, and so it shows the different colors. And so you can checkerboard or stripe your own lawn if you feel up to it with just a regular lawnmower. So a very inexpensive grass, very durable, very drought tolerant, and you can really see the difference in the color of the grass and how it performs, and it does a great job in Cache Valley and in the rest of the Intermountain West. So if you're thinking about overseeding, this is what a Kentucky bluegrass looks like. So this is a real fine, it's a really small, dense grass seed, and that's what the Kentucky bluegrass looks like. This is the magic carpet, so this is the variety that's right here. This is what the seed looks like. The perennial ryegrass is a little bit coarser grass. It's a little bit heavier grass, so you have to plant it a little bit thicker because the seeds are just slightly larger than your Kentucky bluegrass. And you know, for a Kentucky bluegrass, you'd use like 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet. With the turf type perennial ryegrasses, you'd use 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So we're going to use a little bit more grass seed, but the qualities that it has, you're going to love them in your lawn because of just the way it looks, and because of the way it performs, and the way it resists insects and diseases is truly outstanding. So the best way to overseed your lawn, especially if you're going to do it in the springtime, you can do it the same way in the fall as well too, is to aerate your lawn. You know, get your lawn aerated, and it will pull all those plugs out of your soil, and it leaves all these gaps in where the plugs were taken out. Mow it really close before you aerate it, and it leaves all these little gaps in your soil, and then when you broadcast your seed over the top, it'll actually fall down into the holes, and you'll have new grass coming up in the holes where you've aerated, and it leaves bare dirt where something can start to germinate and start to grow. Because if your turf is really thick, you can broadcast seed over the top of it, and it just doesn't want to come up, has to come in contact with the soil. So if you aerate and apply a seed afterwards, rake it very lightly with a leaf rake, all of a sudden you have new varieties of grass popping up in all those holes where the aerator pulled those plugs out. And it is the easiest, I mean hands down, the easiest way to introduce a new variety of grass to your existing lawn without damaging your new lawn, your existing lawn. You can have all this new grass coming up right in the middle of that existing lawn. After you get that seeded, you know, apply a fertilizer like a new lawn starter. Make sure not to use a fertilizer with a pre-emergent in there, which is going to stop new weeds from germinating, but it'll also stop your new grass from germinating. So just use a good new lawn starter or like a 16 fertilizer to feed that new grass. But mow close, aerate, seed over the top, rake it very lightly, fertilize, and keep it moist. And perennial rye germinates in about 10 days in the springtime, and about 4 to 5 days in the fall and the middle of summer when it's really warm and the soil's warm. So it comes up very, very quickly, and you will have a darker green, more resistant, more drought tolerant, bugs don't like to eat it, insects don't like to bother it, type grass mixed in with your existing grass, and you'll see your lawn perform so much better in the years to come by introducing new grasses to it.